March 30th, 2024, Easter weekend. If it's 7 o'clock on Saturday morning, it's time for This Week in Waukesha on WAUK. I'm your host, Don Brown. I am joined by our faithful producer, Anya, and we are coming to you live and local from the office of former Alderman Don Paul Brown here in the WAUK studios here in downtown, right around the corner from Theodore Yeomans Park, where we are proud to honor our suffragette heritage here in the Shaw. And before I introduce this morning's guest, a couple quick announcements. This Tuesday is Election Day. Be sure to go out and make your vote count. We have some school board elections. We have I know some county legislators are up, and of course the presidential primary, but perhaps of greatest importance is the school elections. And for those of you who are still undecided, if you go to my podcast page, you'll see two different episodes with two sets of candidates from, I believe it was 2-3 weeks ago, we had the incumbents. And then the week before that, we had the challengers. So I highly encourage you to check those out if you're still deciding on who you'd like to vote for. And, of course, go visit their websites. And, the more informed you are, the better choice you'll make that's suited to who you'd like to see on our school board. So be sure to check those out. And then yesterday I learned, actually from listening to Civic Media, that it was National Vietnam Veterans Day. And it's that day is it's to give thanks and honor our approximately 7 million living Vietnam veterans, as well as the 10 million families of those who served during the Vietnam War period. Most military families endure the hardship and separation, uncertainty and fear, but the families of our Vietnam veterans also witness husbands and wives, sons and daughters, fathers and mothers returning home to a nation of turmoil. They watched as the vast majority received no formal recognition for their service or welcome home ceremonies hosted by their communities. Like veterans returning home from today's battlefields, those who served in Vietnam came home with both physical and unseen injuries of the war. Many of the unseen injuries suffered by our Vietnam veterans went undiagnosed and weren't understood by our medical community or citizenry as they are now. Veterans were left to meet these challenges without the assistance available today. And so we want to, obviously give thanks and remember. And for my small part, I called my fellow former alderman and Vietnam veteran, Tim Nekich. He served proudly in the Army in Vietnam and still active with the local vets organizations. He will be my guest on Saturday, April 13th, to talk about what we're doing for our Vietnam vets today, especially locally, as well as other city news. So we're great. We're glad to have Tim back. He was our guest last Veterans Day, too, and a wealth of history, too, he's collected from his service. But today is another great day, and I am honored to have, for this first hour, two very special guests. Coming to us remotely from the StreamYard is the band director at Waukesha South High School, Mr. Michael DeBruin. Mike, how are you today?
Good. How are you?
Great. And supporting us here in studio is one of the band's, we say, booster moms, Laurie Loeschman. Did I pronounce your surname correctly?
You did. Thank you so much.
So welcome, Laurie. And you're doing well today, I trust?
I am. Thanks so much for having us here.
You bet. And so the primary reason here, other than, we love the marching band, is that you guys have some very special guests coming to town next week. Mike, you want to take that one?
Yeah. So we're very lucky and fortunate to have the UW Madison Marching Band coming to Waukesha South Auditorium on next Sunday, April 7th. And they'll be doing about a 90-minute show. It'll be starting at 2 p.m. And we just kind of wanted to invite everyone because this is a special event. The last time that they were here with us was back in 2020. And so it's kind of a special thing to have the UW Varsity Band with us and performing a really cool show with music from the 90s, music of Taylor Swift, something Frank Sinatra.
Nice.
They're doing a little bit of a run-out show, so it's really cool.
Now, do you believe it's Frank's world? We just live in it?
Yeah.
All right. Frank, that's got to be great music for band music.
Yeah.
So having the chairman. So terrific. And, Laurie was explaining to me how the event works. They show up and they give a concert, and then is there any opportunities for engagement with the band members or your counterparts in the leadership?
Well, having been there once before, at least it was actually back in the 2020 show myself. I can speak from experience and also from what I have heard that the show is very engaging with the audience. They don't start out on stage. They come in from the sides and they do sort of a mini version of their marching show.
Okay.
And, they do their high kicking and twirls with the sousaphones. And they play a lot of the songs that, are designed to get the crowd really involved, like, the songs from like the Badger games,
sure.
like the school fight song, the You Rah Rah Wisconsin, the ones that really get people,
sure.
moving and singing along.
Sure. So now, and I have to ask, obviously one of the big traditions Wisconsin popularized was when between the third and fourth quarter, they do the House of Pain song, Jump Around. Does the band participate in that in any capacity, to your knowledge? They add some brass or some more percussion?
I don't recall that being in the stage show that they do.
Sure.
I mean, the show.
I just went from the sidelines, so they're, if they're jamming along.
You mean during the football games?
Yeah, it's the songs in the can and everyone's jumping around. But I wonder if the band does something that's fun to support it, to complement it.
Mike, have you been at any of the band days with our band? Because I don't recall. I mean, I know that the band gets very involved out on the field and, kind of doing their little dance routines and stuff, but I don't know if they actually play along to jump around.
I don't think they play along to it, but they jump. And I remember seeing, especially with all the trombones and the brass, because when you have like the stadium or the sky and the reflection of the sun off of the brass, like they're usually doing like a turn, like they're usually turning them with the beat and such. So that's pretty fun. Yeah, we did the Badger Band Day the last 2 years, and that's usually in fall, September. And the next one, I think, which we'll be going to, that's at Camp Randall. So, nice. But what's really cool is this is coming to us. So,
yeah. That's got to be a lot of fun.
Yeah.
So, hey, we're taking your calls for South Band Director Mike DeBruin and Band Booster Mom Laurie Loeschman. Local number is 414-441-2941. That's 414-441-2941. What time is the concert next Sunday, April 7th, Mike?
It starts at 2 p.m.
Okay, and how much for admission?
So admission prices range between $10 to $15 a person.
Okay.
If you want to get a ticket, please go to Black Shirt Bands, that's all one word, .ludus, and that's LUDUS.com. And what we're very fortunate is that the proceeds from this show are going to both the UW Madison Marching Band and also Waukesha South Band program. So,
great.
Yeah, so wonderful. The proceeds help us bring the band in. They obviously have to pay for their transportation and everything that is associated with, coming to our location. There's sort of a tradition in hosting this show where, we have to provide a buffet meal for the band before they go on stage. And the students look forward to these quite a bit. They come, well prepared with Tupperware containers to bring home the leftovers. So cool. So it's pretty cool to engage with the college kids that way.
Sure.
And we've had from South, I can't speak to North or West, but we've had a number of our alumni actually participating in the Badger Band. In fact, that's
Terrific.
How we're able to be a host show or a host site for the band.
Some of those are scholarship. Were there any? Did anyone go make the band and scholarship, to your knowledge?
I'm not aware of any scholarships with the marching band. And actually, we were just at Madison this past week for a tour of the campus, and that wasn't mentioned. We talked a little bit about the marching band tradition, but
I could be wrong. Yeah, because I went to high school with a friend who we actually went to the same Michigan State, who has a great marching band tradition. And he got a full ride there, and I thought it was for marching band. I mean, he was an exceptional student. He was brilliant, but I thought that the marching band had kicked in some funds for his education.
Well, having been
But
through the
I could be
college
wrong.
experience with my oldest child last year, I can at least speak to the fact that most schools will offer something for participating in some
Sure.
form of the music tradition. So it's
That's
possible.
great. Neat. So, and I imagine we have some alum playing for other colleges.
I'm
To your
sure we
knowledge,
do.
yeah.
Mike, do you know of any? I mean, I personally don't know of any.
The only one that I can think off the top of my head, I know we had a senior last year who ended up going to Purdue, and I believe
Nice.
I'm not sure if he's in the pep band. I know when I had talked to him before he left, that was one of his goals. And then I think at Carthage we have a couple that are participating in. I don't know if it's pep band again. I think it would be concert band, but
Okay.
yeah, it's really cool. It's really neat that after students graduate, that they continue, utilizing their skills and participating in either college or community
Okay.
performances. So
Yeah, that's great. Now, I have a son who's going to Eau Claire in the fall for football, and we went to visit last year for a game. And the marching band tradition, there's a lot of fun. It might be one of the biggest in the country. There's 500 members. They take up the entire visiting section behind the visiting team, the smaller bleachers you typically see, and they get really loud. Even when they're not playing, they are so loud with their cheering that it's hard for the opposing team, the coaches and players, to hear each other. So it's a really intimidating factor that they have for blue gold football with the marching band.
Well, it's interesting you bring that up because Eau Claire is one of the schools that we visited this week as well. And,
terrific.
and my daughter was asking about, getting involved in the marching band. And in the introduction, they talked about the band is like 700 members or something like that.
Wow.
And I thought, where do they put all of these people?
Sure. Yeah, I know. It's amazing. So our guests next week, April 6th, are some other musicians from Waukesha South. They're members of the punk rock band, the Nunchucks, and they are one of four
Nice.
bands performing at the upcoming Shawstock at Waukesha South High School on Saturday, May 3rd. Admission's $5, and all proceeds will benefit the Jackson Sparks Foundation. So much great music coming out of Waukesha South. You have to be very proud. And we're going to continue this conversation with South Band Director Mike DeBruin and Booster Mom Laurie Loeschman here on This Week in Waukesha on this rainy Saturday morning, but hopefully the sun will find its way out. Talk about it.
Talk about it. It's late in the morning, close to the time, and Mary's in the alley. She never stops smiling. Oh, it's good to see her. She means a lot to me, but I know she's got a hard time that'll make it.
Show.
Dear one, the world is waiting for the sunrise.
You're listening to This Week in Waukesha on WAUK with your host, Don Brown, with lots of support from my awesome producer, Anya. And this second song's also become a staple for me now. It's and usually it works, but not yet this Saturday morning. It's our very own, Waukesha's favorite son, Les Paul, and wife Mary Ford with "The World is Waiting for the Sunrise." And we've been really lucky these last few weeks. When the song comes on, the sun's popping its way out. But looks like it's got an uphill battle here with this gray sky and still some drizzly rain. So, but hard to complain after the winter we've had, or should we say the early spring we've had. So I know we had a little bit of a dusting late last week. But fortunately, there wasn't a lot of heavy wind, and it was very light snowfall. It's just it happened over like a 10-hour period overnight that it did accumulate, but it was gone before it started. So again, we've just been really, except for one rough weekend in January, it's been a wonderful winter. So I imagine the marching band, Mike DeBruin, doesn't do a lot of practice outside in the winter, or do they?
No, I mean, other than preparing for like the holiday parade, we do like one outdoor rehearsal.
Sure.
Back in, I think it's like late November. But
Well, that's
other
right. Yeah,
than
there's a
that, no.
Christmas parade. Yeah, how could I forget? Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
and I know that North, who's got a great band tradition. I'm sure you don't like to hear that too much, but they've got. I think they played at like the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade, and I think the Rose Bowl. I mean, this is over like many years, but that's got to be a big moment when a band gets invited. I know Waukesha West, and it kind of got overshadowed because it was in the wake of the parade tragedy, but they flew all the way out to Hawaii on the 80th anniversary of the Pearl Harbor attack, and they got to perform at these commemorations. And what a special moment for those young men and women to be able to participate in something like that. And so many great opportunities that our our marching bands put out. Now, Mike, is this your first or second full year as band director for South?
Feels like first. No, it's my second.
Your
yeah,
second.
It's my second year.
Terrific.
Yeah.
And I imagine you must be enjoying it.
Yeah. I mean, the kids are great, and I'm learning a lot. It's my first band job, so that's been really
Fantastic.
cool.
Sure. And did you grow up in Waukesha, Mike?
No, actually, I grew up 2 hours north in Kaukauna.
Kaukauna. I love it.
The Galloping Ghosts, if you have ever heard of those.
That's right. I have. Yes. So I love Kaukauna. I love that whole area there in the Fox Valley. So terrific. But you love Waukesha, right?
Yeah, it's been fun. And before I forget, I do want to give a shout out to Mr. Battersby and Mr. Farmer, the band directors of Waukesha North and West. We, I mean, we're
Tom's been on my show before.
We're three different bands, but no,
Sure.
I learn a lot from them too. I love talking to them
and I know
teasing them when I can.
Sure. Do you guys still do a combined performance on Memorial Day, the Memorial Day parade?
Yes, and that's coming up in late May. So yeah, we'll be having a rehearsal. I believe it's at Waukesha North. I'm forgetting the date. Whatever the Sunday is right before the Memorial Day parade, and then we'll be doing the Memorial Day parade combined again. So.
Yeah, so that's neat. You guys stay busy year round, so not just at the football games.
Yeah.
Terrific.
Yes.
So, and you also you teach? Are you on the faculty that you teach music at South as well?
Yeah, so I teach jazz band, concert band, symphonic winds and percussion, which is also primarily known as our marching band. And then I'm also teaching beginning guitar this year at South. So
nice.
Yeah.
Any continuing education for us adults here, or mostly you're just exclusive to the students?
Yeah, I just stick to the students. That's
sure,
yeah. But if any adults want to get lessons, we encourage White House of Music. They offer some opportunities there.
I'd be remiss if I didn't mention there's a couple great opportunities here in downtown with Danny Faustman's Guitar Studios for Life, and here in the Outpost they've got some great teachers. And so I've been working, Mike, and maybe I can enlist you. I want to do a Les Paul Guitar Town Guitar Festival. Starting in the summer. We haven't, but I mean, this is obviously in the early stages, but stay tuned. Like I said, we may try to enlist you. So,
all right. Now, I'm not the strongest guitar player. I'm going to throw that out there. I'm not.
Yeah, that's fine. That's right. Yeah, I'm not. I wish I was a guitar player, but it's just a beautiful instrument. And so, Laurie, as a booster mom, what are some of your roles? And by the way, thanks to Christine Marks, another booster mom, for helping put this together. Her daughter Meredith's in the drum section along with your daughter. And so what are some of your responsibilities that Mr. DeBruin delegates to you?
Well, I don't know how you feel, Mike, but sometimes I almost feel like we're the ones pushing you around a little bit too much. But I'd like to say that since he's gotten his feet under him, after coming on board with us literally about a week before school started last year, he's really taken the reins and able to, drive the bus, so to speak. But the boosters are primarily there to help with fundraising efforts for our music program. And, the unique thing about band is that there's just a lot of extra stuff that goes along with it, whether it's the uniforms, the equipment. When there's events, somebody needs to keep these kids fed and hydrated, and that's a lot of what the booster parents are involved with. And then also my role in particular is just to kind of be the squeaky wheel and make sure that word is getting out about things that we're involved in or things that we need help with and all that sort of thing.
Yep. Hey, and I want to throw in March. This is obviously the second last day. March is the National Music in Our Schools Month. And so I talked about that in my first show in March, back in the first Saturday of March. And does South do anything in recognition of that month, or you keep doing what you're doing?
I don't know if it's necessarily in recognition of the month, but we definitely, March is our solo ensemble time, which isn't quite as publicized as other performances. But the students start preparing in about mid-February or so they do like solos and ensembles, and they perform in front of a judge and receive a rating. And so that we just completed that. I want to say it was a Saturday. I can't remember the date off the top of my head, but a couple Saturdays ago, and they did a great job. It was awesome. I try to get to as many of them as I can, but they're all in like different parts of the building. That's at Waukesha West, actually. So,
Oh, nice.
And
yeah.
this year is actually the first time, I believe, that the state solo and ensemble competition is having a site at Carroll University,
Really?
which is
Yes.
pretty awesome because
Sure.
in past years it's always been at Whitewater, so it's a little
Mhm.
bit further, and logistics are a little bit different.
Sure.
But being able to have Carroll host it this year, I think, is pretty exciting.
Sure. Well,
Yeah.
and I know I understand it's a very competitive culture in band and music, but the solo competitions probably have to be fun for the kids because they kind of get to. Do they get to innovate or do their own thing?
Sort of, yeah. I mean, there's like a list that they have to kind of choose their music off of, but if there's something that they're very interested in doing, that's really the opportunity to do it. And what I like about that is it helps them learn something a little bit new on their instrument and helps them grow and get to that next level.
Sounds great.
Well, speaking of innovation, actually, Mike, I think you have a good example from the percussion item.
Yeah.
First,
We're going to talk about that in just a few moments, but want to remind everybody in our second hour, we have varsity baseball coaches Don Radomski and John Stillman from North and South, respectively. But the conversation with the marching band continues here on This Week in Waukesha.
Have you ever been close to tragedy or been close to folks who have? Have you ever felt the pain so powerful, so heavy you collapse? No, well, I never had to knock on wood.
You're listening to This Week in Waukesha on WAUK 540 AM, 101.1 FM, The Shaw. And if you're listening to this show on the radio, don't forget to download the Civic Media app and take This Week in Waukesha wherever you go, as well as all the great programming we have here on this station and also throughout the Civic Media atmosphere or world stratosphere. What are we calling it now? Nation. And so-
Ecosphere?
Ecosphere. I like that.
Something
Thank you,
like
Anya.
that.
Yep, Anya, my producer. And so, when you're traveling around the state, there's over 20 stations that Civic Media owns. And so you get some great local news, great local program, great local content. Learn about some of the marching bands in those communities. And the song you just heard is the Mighty Mighty Boss Tones with the impression that I get. Laurie knows them. So Mike knows them. And so I was trying to pick a fun song that had brass and percussion and like march. Like that would be a good one for the marching band to cover, huh?
Oh yeah, I love ska. I love ska style
Yeah,
music. That's we'll have to incorporate that in a little bit.
There you
Yeah.
go. My guest earlier was either this month or the previous month was Ken Maciejewski. He's a West dad, and I believe his children are in their marching band. And he started when he was up in college at St. Norbert or Lawrence, he started a ska festival called Ska Appleton. And then I think it stopped, and then he was, by popular demand, he was asked to start it back up. So I guess it's Mother's Day weekend there in Appleton. So big shout out to Kenny. We got to have him back on, or it'd be great to have a jam with the different bands on one of these Saturdays. That'd be fun. So if we had the space, we might have to get a bigger space to do that. So now we're finishing a conversation. Laura, you had mentioned an example, and it had to do with was it with the solo competition? Is that what we were focusing in on?
our percussion section did a selection of music that, and I don't remember the ethnic tradition of it, but it was something about like a hunting song or something like that, Mike.
Okay.
Yeah, it was Kabe by G. Michael Roy. And what's really interesting about it is that style of music, it's kind of used to try and like a prep before hunting. And one of the one of the fun things in terms of learning that piece was there's supposed to be an antelope horn, and we tried a few different ways of making that sound work, and we just couldn't. So one of our percussionists ended up doing a trumpet instead, and um, it was funny because when you're ordering those types of odd instruments offline,
Sure.
you have no idea what you're gonna get.
Right.
And yeah, so we got a couple of interesting, I guess, props now.
That sounds like a job for Joel Clayfish in our hunting show.
Yeah.
To go over and get an antelope horn for our bands.
I love
clearly,
that.
Clearly, they
Yeah.
need one.
Yeah.
Yes.
And Joe's a
Yeah,
North
you can make a
graduate.
profit too.
Yeah, Joel's a North
Yeah.
graduate. So yeah, no, that's a great idea, Anya. Thank you. So yeah, when is Joel's show on now? Because I know there's with some programming changes.
Yes, so it's a pre-recorded show, and it plays out on weekends now, I think at noon today, and I think at 3 p.m. tomorrow being Sunday.
Okay.
So
So I think it's
yes.
11. 'Cause I think Charlie Barron's the Cripes Crass is noon, isn't it?
yes, yes.
So Joel's
okay.
on at 11, but it's a great raised in
Yes.
Wisco. And for those of you that are part of the hunting tradition or even just cooking with like game proteins, like Joel's got some, I love that show. So Joel Cleefish with Danielle Fairman, a Waukesha South graduate. So North and South well represented on Joel's show. So check that out. Hey, I wanted to skip over to the Carol Minute. I think I'm going to need 2 Carol Minutes because we got a lot of great information. So, but maybe we'll do one in each hour here. But first one coming in from Triple G, Greg Wansnyder. The best thing I ever ate is happening at Carroll University this coming Wednesday from 5 to 7 p.m. Triple G will have a dish in the mix. And to register, you can email dining@carroll.edu. And you can try a peanut butter and bacon burgers with horchata to drink, as well as other great dishes. So thank you for sharing that, Triple G. And then also the Pioneer Golf Classic will be held on June 24th to benefit Carroll Athletics. It's the 54th annual. It takes place at the Legend at Merrill Hills, so really nice. So to register, check out gopios.com. There's a breakfast and then a shotgun start. It starts early. And then the 19th hole celebration, that's usually my favorite hole in the rare occasions that I do golf. So, and then the women's basketball all-district team announced Tuesday morning included 2 players, junior Olivia Ranhel and Chloe Halverson. They each earned the distinction after helping the Pioneers to a program record 23 victories this season, winning both the CCIW regular season and tournament championships for the first time in program history. So it's great to see the accolades continue for that fantastic program. And we're not done just yet with women's athletics at Carroll because that fantastic lacrosse team they have won a really tough victory last night up at River Falls, 11-9, a hard-fought non-conference game at Raymer Field. And Grace Brockman and freshman sensation Elizabeth Wang each scored 4 goals in this triumph. And got to give a big shout-out to this freshman sensation, Olivia Wang. Last week against Edgewood College, she scored 6 goals in a 19-6 triumph, and she was just 3 shy of the school's single game record. And her 9 points in that game, 3 assists, are 2 shy of Carroll's single game record. So congrats there. And we're going to do minute number 2 in the second hour because a lot of great news coming out of Carroll. But back with our friends from the marching band director Mike DeBruin and booster mom Laurie Loeschman. What else do you have to do to prepare for this big event next Sunday with the Badger Marching Band coming to perform?
Well, Mike, go ahead.
Oh,
Mike.
sorry. I was just gonna say probably the biggest thing is just me and the students getting the stage set and ready, and working with our custodial staff. So shout out to Mike and Mr. Schreier who have been in contact helping making this all possible. And Mrs. Schamberg too, who is our theater director, and so it's a lot of collaboration to get it all together. And then of course the boosters and the food and everything. So
Sure.
yeah.
Is it safe to ask, what would we do without Dan Schreier? He's really done a remarkable job there as the school's AD and assistant principal.
Yeah, absolutely. I think he pretty much lives at South. Like I really feel they should just build an apartment
Little
above his
condo for him.
office, so yeah, condo something, because he's always there, very supportive, very hands-on and involved, and so yeah, he's awesome.
Well, and he's still very active. Like I think he runs triathlons. He runs religiously, and so like on a day that there's a game at night, you'll see Dan will go out for a run and he'll come back and you'll see him like in his sweats, or he'll run, take a quick shower, and he's So you're right. I think he does have like maybe a secret like bat cave there. So,
Yeah.
but it is terrific to see the support that you get from the AD, and really he's really director of activities. So I mean, he's just a big
Yeah.
fan of all the different wonderful things we have going on there. And that does remind me, Raise the Bar is coming up in April. I forget I think it's Saturday the 13th, but we'll confirm that. We have here in residence now at the office of former Alderman Don Paul Brown, are my guests in the next hour, Waukesha North coach Don Radomski and Waukesha South coach John Stillman. I imagine John would know the exact date and time for Raise the Bar. And it does take place at the Stackner Ballroom at Carroll University, and wonderful fundraiser. Fun. It's an 80s theme night too, so my wife's already got her outfit picked, and I'm still debating what I should wear. So, but yeah, maybe we'll see you there, Mike and Laurie. That's a lot of fun. So,
The band boosters have a table purchased. I think they're called like a super fan table.
Love it.
So yeah, a number of us will be there.
sounds great. Very appropriate too for the marching band. So terrific. So now, Mike, in your first role, is there any like goals you have for the band program that you'd kind of like to put your signature on?
Oh, say I don't know
Your
about a
mark.
signature on anything really. My biggest goal is to try and keep the program going and trying to grow it. Those are the two main priorities. And I mean, obviously want the kids to learn and have a good time. So that's, but in
Sure.
terms of a signature, I don't know about a signature, but
Yeah.
just trying to do the best I can.
Sure.
I don't know if I can go here, but isn't next year's marching band show a little bit your signature?
March Fest?
Oh
different-
yeah.
that's another show?
March Fest. Yeah. The marching show theme next year is the Sky's the Limit. It's probably like I said, I've learned a lot coming in to the role, and this last year, especially seeing Waukesha West and Waukesha North shows and analyzing the show as like a story and trying to tell a story. And what does that mean? Because when I was getting judge feedback from the shows that we were at, I never really understood it until I was watching their shows. And so with next year's marching show, we're going to try to go a little bit more in that direction in terms of we're going to be doing, it's a Michael Jackson theme show, but it's not meant to be a Michael Jackson like hits. It's meant to
Right.
kind of showcase his story through his music, through his life. So
Nice.
I guess I don't know, maybe it's a signature. I don't know. I guess we'll see.
Sure.
But,
Sure.
yeah.
Well, same thing, especially on I think Jackson 5. There's got to be a lot of like a great that's adaptable to marching band. That'd be a lot of fun. Like I think of ABC right away. That could be a great marching
Yeah,
band.
no, and
jam.
I love, probably out of his career, I mean, obviously there's Thriller and stuff, but I love the Jackson 5 era. It was just so
Sure.
cool to
Oh
watch
yeah,
those
absolutely.
performances. Yeah.
Sure. So now, Ohio State, one of the more fabled marching band traditions, has the dotting of the I, and people still get excited about at games. And there's definitely. Have we thought about a kind of a tradition or a signature like that for South's marching band during the games? Crossing
Ooh,
the T.
That's a great question. Last year we tried doing like a WS. I think like before the show, that's something I would like to try and bring back. It's a little challenging with numbers.
Sure.
And like with sound, because you want students to be able to hear each other, and when they're on the field, it's kind of tough, in general. But that's all I can really think of off the top of my head. But we really like to bring some pep band to the football games in fall, and trying to make pep band a little bit more of a thing in during basketball games in spring. So
Sure. Yeah. Well, I think it's got to be fun too because there's the jazz band too, so you really get to mix it up.
yeah.
So.
Yeah, and I don't know. I'm probably going to embarrass my two students, but I'm going to say it anyway. So you mentioned the Nunchucks earlier.
Yeah.
Two of the students from the Nunchucks are in jazz bands.
Is that Evan Ben Dixon? Is one of them or no? The other.
No, there are two others.
Okay.
But Yeah.
Sounds good.
So
So
it
it's
was
okay
really
to
cool
say their
hear
name
about
over
them.
the air if you want, because they may be on the show next week with Evan. So
Yeah, I don't. I'm gonna.
you're gonna keep
I'm
it
gonna
okay.
take the
That's
safe.
your,
I'm gonna
yep.
take the safe route, and I'll just
That's
like
fine. Yep.
when I see
That's
him on
fair.
Tuesday, I'll give him a hard time. But
There you go. Yeah. Say, hey, I
yeah.
wanted to make you guys, shine, but you didn't
Yeah.
give me the blessing.
Yeah,
So
I always give him. I give him a hard time because they told me to look him up on TikTok. So I looked up nunchucks on TikTok, and
Yeah.
now my algorithm is just guys doing nunchuck like
Oh
tricks.
yeah.
So,
Yep.
yeah.
Yep. That's hilarious. So, they did. Evan sent me a video via email yesterday that I've yet to open up, so I'm going to check that
Cool.
out. Yeah, I'll
Yeah.
pass it along to you. I'm sure you won't mind. So
Yeah,
if you don't
absolutely.
have it
And
already.
they performed at the Spring Talent Show. That was the Friday before spring break, so a week
Okay.
ago. They
Sure.
performed there, so they did a great job. It was really
Sure.
cool. So-
Now another South band, I believe it's Bunny Moon. Any members in your marching band there? It's
But Bunny Blues,
Bunny
yes,
Blues. I'm
Bunny
sorry.
Blues.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
there's two of them. Yeah, two of them.
So that's
Yeah,
great.
So that's really cool.
I love it. So, hey, don't forget, folks, the city's annual Brush Branch Pickup will take place the week of April 1st through the 5th. That's next week, weather dependent. Please place your brush branches out by 6 on the day of your neighborhood's garage collection. Branches should be on the terrace grass area between the curb and the sidewalk. Do not place material in the road or block the sidewalk, and keep them loose on the ground. So the conversation continues with Mike DeBruin and Laurie Loeschman of Waukesha South's band as they prepare for a special visit from the Badger Marching Band next Sunday, April 7th.
Because I'm sure it isn't good. That's the impression that I get. I'm not a coward, I've just never been tested. I'd like to think that.
You're listening This Week in Waukesha, and the song you listened to was Center Field by John Fogerty, from originally from CCR. And, of course, it's baseball season, and the Black Shirts Waukesha South had their home opener on Thursday night in an exciting victory over the Popes of St. Pius, 3-2, a pitcher's battle. Brighton Staub, senior lefty, got the win after pitching forward 1/3 innings, and then in relief, Tyler Conger shut things down for the Black Shirts with eight outs, and just a great effort. Coach John Stillman's here in studio. He'll be on in the second hour along with North coach Don Radomski, and the two teams scrimmaged as well on Wednesday afternoon in the blistering cold, more like football weather, but they were on the diamond, so really looking forward to having them on. We're here with Waukesha South Band Director Mike DeBruin and band booster Mom Laurie Loeschman. Mike, do you envision maybe the marching band coming to play at or getting your friend Tom Battersby and having like a march off, a battle of the bands at like an upcoming North and South game? That's Frame Park's the home stadium for both teams, so it could be a home and home series between the two bands.
It's interesting you mentioned that. We've Mr. Farmer, Mr. Battersby, and myself, we've talked about trying to do a combined pep band thing. It's just been a struggle with scheduling something like that throughout the year, but that's
Sure.
I think I'm hoping next year we'll be able to pull something like that off. We'll see.
Yeah. Sounds like you guys have a lot to do with all the other competitions and events that you put on and all the great training that you do.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. But no, it'd be fun. Like I said, like with the Memorial Day parade when we combine, that's always fun, to see everyone play together.
Yeah, very meaningful for sure. So, and then you also do do you do the 4th of July parade? I forget. I know North does.
We do not. No.
Okay, sure. It's probably maybe a little too hot for your liking, I would imagine. So, but of course you do the Christmas parade, and so that's fantastic. So now, April 7th, what time is it? 3:00 or 2:00?
2 p.m.
2 p.m. And that's at the Waukesha South Auditorium.
Correct.
The University of Wisconsin Badger Marching Band, hosted by our beloved South Black Shirt Marching Band. And proceeds benefit both band funds, if you will. So which go a long way for helping with instruments, travel, music.
Oh, yeah.
So,
yes.
And then what a great time, too, on a Sunday afternoon, especially if you love music and you love marching band music. And, to have a top caliber Big Ten marching band coming, that's got to be a real treat for your kids and for the community. So
yeah, it'll be high energy, high fun. So
sure.
And I don't know if I mentioned this before. There'll be a little bit of concessions available as well. So it'll be like
nice.
a 15-minute. It's a 90-minute show, but there'll be a 15-minute intermission, and so it'll be a fun time.
Will there be a sushi bar? I'm just kidding.
I mean, I don't know. I don't know if I can.
Maybe I'm talking about raising the bar, which is also good. But that's maybe one of your students will come in and do like they may force the. It helps sales too, I imagine.
Yeah, so, probably. Yeah.
Only kidding. But you must be thrilled. What have we not discussed about the marching band program that you want our listeners to know about?
It's a great. Not 100% sure. I mean, it's just a phenomenal program that goes back. I'm not 100% sure how old the marching band program is, but I know like we just celebrated our 100th year of the band program in general last year.
That's great.
In Waukesha, and it's just been really cool kind of coming into like all the traditions, and like we mentioned before, March Fest, which will be next fall. Oh, I'm forgetting the date. September 27th or 20th, whatever that Saturday is.
Sure.
September 27th or 29th.
That one's hard to miss.
Yeah, so and that's our biggest fundraiser. So yes, please definitely check that out if you haven't before.
And it will be our first time in the new renovated Ken Holland Field too.
That's right. Yeah, great point, Laurie. They're getting going on that. And it looks very impressive. So
yeah, very excited to see those changes. So
absolutely. So and it's the largest band competition in the state, I believe. Southfest or March Fest.
Aside from the state marching band competition, it is.
And it's for sure it's the oldest, from what I understand.
That's what the history notes tell us. Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
obviously, none of us have been around since the beginning. So
yes, far too young.
Yeah. So, but we hope to be, having this conversation 10 or 20 years from now, as you build the tradition. So it's got to be exciting.
So one of the interesting facts, though, about March Fest, and Christine Marks actually brought this up, I think, last year, is that what's unique about our March Fest show is that it starts in the afternoon, so it's performed under the lights, which many other competitions are not. And we have one of the highest press boxes in the state, or at least southeastern Wisconsin, which for the judges and even for the spectators, obviously they can't sit in the press box, but it just gives a different perspective to the show, which is kind of fun, and all of the students and participants really enjoy that as well, especially the part about being under the lights. It does add something to the show.
Yeah, I love it. So, any final comments as we wrap up this first hour about the visit from the Badger Marching Band, the South Band?
Just like we hope to see you next Sunday, April 7th. The show starts at 2 p.m. Tickets are on blackshirtbands.ludus.com.
It's $15 to pre-order, or $10 a pre-order, 15 in person.
It's the prices range from 10 to 15 depending on where you choose to sit. Obviously, the closer to the stage, a little bit more expensive.
Yep.
And we encourage people to buy their tickets in advance, just so that they can just walk right in and not have to stand in line to buy tickets, and just get to their seat and get ready for the fun. Sounds great.
And Mike, I want to thank you for making yourself available. I know it's a holiday weekend for your family, or you're doing some travel today, but appreciate you dressing up in the black shirt, the red shirt and black tie. I know baseball coach John Stillman is not dressed the way you are, so we'll have to give him a hard time about that. But thanks so much for joining us, South Band Director Mike DeBruin, South Band Booster Mom Laurie Loeschman. Best of luck with the visit and concert from the Badger Marching Band next Sunday, April 7th, 2 p.m. be sure to check that out, everybody. And stick around for our second hour on This Week in Waukesha on WAUK 540 AM, 101.1 FM, and the Civic Media app, The Shaw.
Struck out. So say, hey, Willie, tell the cow, and Joe DiMaggio, don't say it ain't so, you know the time is now. Oh, put me in cold, I'm ready.
March 30th, 2024, Easter weekend. If it's 8 o'clock on Saturday morning, it's still time for This Week in Waukesha, Hour 2. I'm your host, Don Brown. I am joined by my faithful producer, Anya. And Anya, you have somebody in the studio with you here this morning.
We do. Waukesha. Say hello to my trainee, Abby. Abby, say hello to
Hello,
Waukesha.
Abby. Say hello.
Hello, Waukesha.
All right, great
Great
to
stuff.
see you. Yep. And I know Triple G, Greg Snyder says his best to you. He's very excited that you're with us today in training. So it's good to have that Carol touch here in our University City and here in the WAUK studio. And very excited about the second hour. I've been working hard to put this together. And, these guys get very busy with, as soon as, not even when the snow's melted, it's still snowing out and they're already getting ready, indoor practices and whatnot. But glad to have back for the second year in a row, Waukesha North head varsity coach, Don Radomski, and Waukesha South varsity coach in his second year, John Stillman. Welcome, gentlemen. How are we this morning?
Welcome. Thanks for having me.
We are great.
Fantastic.
You got it. And so you guys, I know you met last Wednesday in what we Irish call a friendly, a little scrimmage over there. Was it a frame, I think?
Mm-hmm.
How'd it go?
It was fun. Well, we were supposed to have a scrimmage against Dominican and on the night before. And, the weather turned for the worse. So we were kind of scrambling around. And
Sure.
I called up John and said, hey, if you guys have a chance to come out to a practice, love to have it. We had frame booked already, so we were just going to have a team practice, and John was willing to come out, and it was fun. It was good. It was a nice chance to see probably some JV guys. He wasn't fully, staffed. I wasn't either.
Sure.
A lot of our guys on spring break right now, but it was fun. Got to see a lot of different pitchers and battled it out. It was fun. I got to call balls and strikes on my guys, and John called balls and strikes on his
so you
guys.
did your own upping. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I love that.
Yep.
Yeah, I rang up a couple of our guys because they weren't aggressive with two strikes. But no, it was perfect because we had our first real game on Thursday. So and Wednesday was the first time that we were able to get outside, and it was great to see live pitching. It was great to make plays and situations, and it was something that we had lacked, and it was a perfect timing for that.
That's good.
Yeah.
So, and I know the scrimmage benefited South perhaps more because you guys had a game the next day,
Yeah.
home opener against non-conference Pius, same the Popes, and I was there in a tent and got to watch a really exciting 3-2 win.
That's going to be, I think that might be our path for success this year, to have really good pitching,
Great pitch,
solid defense, timely hitting, and just take advantage of any mistakes that the other team makes. We're not going to outslug teams. And we did, like you said, we got dynamite pitching from Brighton Staub and Tyler Conger on Thursday.
I mean, Brighton was like 4 1/3 innings, gave up maybe 3 or 4 hits, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And then I thought the strategy was great because Brighton had pretty much done a good job of shutting them down. Great support in the field. And then Pius employed this little small ball tactic where every guy was bunting.
Yeah.
And on a turf field, the way that ball
that's Coach
died.
Kihas.
That
Coach
is
Kihas. If you're playing Pius, if you're playing the Popes, you pretty much know going into Kihas likes to play small ball.
Absolutely.
But it worked, and it got a run in, and they were threatening, and that's when Coach Stillman made the pitching change. And I thought it was smart because the heat that Tyler puts on, if you're going to try to bunt it, it's going to sail into the, going to be a lot more playable than what they were doing. And
Well, I'm not going to take too much credit for that
Sure.
because that was kind of the plan all along to have Brighton go about that long and have Tyler come in. But they had 3 bunts in a row that were just excellent bunts, and we didn't play it poorly. One they just beat out, and one our first baseman pulled his foot, and it wasn't like we were throwing the ball around.
Right,
It's just
yeah.
they did a really good job at what they do,
did.
and
especially in a turf field. It'd be
Oh.
different if it was like back in JV and they're playing at Prairie, but
it dies, and
but
Oh,
the way they got that ball to die in the turf was amazing to me.
yeah.
So-
We were just happy to get out of there with a win, and
Yeah.
just a really nice way to start.
And sure, and it's a good remark of like character in a tough game like that, where maybe the hitting's not doing what you want it to do, but the pitching and the defense come through.
Yep.
So
And like I said, that's going to be that's going to look familiar this year.
yeah, and it was one play. I thought the play of the game, other than the pitching, of course, was what looked like an extra base hit in right center. And your freshman, is he a freshman? Sophomore. What's his name again?
Alex Montez.
Oh, Alex Montez. Yep, we saw his dad, basketball coach Lee Montez there, and his mom, and that was a heck of a catch. I mean, that he turned the wheels on to catch.
Well,
that.
and he made that look a lot easier than
Right,
what it
that's-
was. And we noticed that from the get-go that he was our center fielder. He just gets jumps, and
Sure.
he, like I said, makes those plays look really, really easy.
Sure. So, a couple good mojos working for you that you may not be. Well, the first maybe is your guys in the corners. First base Logan Dable and third base Ben Jimenez are members of the state champion Waukesha South cheerleading team. So I think that's got to be very positive mojo, bringing that winning weight. But also, when my son Evan, who's on the team, came home the other night, new numbers were assigned. And he was assigned number 9, which was my number on the 82 world champions of Orchard Park Senior League Baseball, the Royals.
Beautiful.
All-star
Who
season.
doesn't remember the Royals?
The 82 Royals. Yeah.
Of Orchard
And
Park.
then, that's it. And then, but I said, I think Evan, at the time I thought he was playing center. I said, I was a left fielder though. And then I get there and Evan's playing left field. So it's all the stars are lining up. So once we get him to hitting the way I did that year, I was lights out. Anyway.
Well, speaking of Evan, on the scrimmage, Evan was on the mound. You got to throw an inning. And again, I'm calling balls and strikes to my own guys. So Evan was on the mound, and I'm looking at everything else going on. Evan had already pitched to a batter, and I didn't realize it was Evan on the mound.
Okay.
And he turned around and said, "Oh, Evan, how you doing?" So it was cool. He looked good though. He looked good. Yeah.
Sure. So speaking of looking good, you have to feel pretty good about your team this year. You have some seniors returning. I know South has 8 coming back. Coach Radomski.
Yeah, we have quite a core coming back, which has been fantastic. Letting those guys have leadership with running open gyms and just being more vocal too with the younger crew. We have a really talented younger crew too, so it's important that our older guys are mentoring those guys coming through the ropes. But yeah, we only have really two open spots that we're still kind of scratching our head, not exactly sure what we're going to do. But our whole infield's coming back, center fielder's coming back. So yeah, we feel pretty confident with having that. It makes a big deal having all that senior leadership.
Sure, I imagine. So now you're the dean of the 2 coaches here. How many years have you been at South now? Is it 5 or 6? Or more?
And I think, don't put me on a spider. I think it's my 6th year. That COVID kind of screwed me up. So
yeah.
I think this is 6 years.
Easy to do. So and this is the 2nd year for Coach Stillman, but Coach is in terms of his time at South, he's an alumnus there. Class of 87.
Class of 87, yep. Long ago and far away.
Football and baseball. And a graduate at North Central College. When I was covering the Carroll North Central game, John and his son were kind enough to come on for the halftime interview. And I said, did Carroll look at you? And he said, yeah. The problem is I liked Carroll, but Carroll was closer to my house than Waukesha South was. So I decided I needed to get away for a little bit.
That was a deal breaker.
But you came home.
But I was actually, and I don't know if I told you this, but I was Carroll's ball boy for Saturday games since I was in middle school, like all the way through high school.
Very cool.
And got me into the game, and they gave me a hot dog.
Nice.
That was my payment.
That's a good that's good compensation of that.
I think I might do that for a hot dog now.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I heard somewhere that I think I was listening to Todd Elbaugh, and there's 7-Eleven's introducing hot dog flavored water. I think
No thanks.
Yeah, pass. But
No thanks.
So yeah,
maybe the other way around. I don't know, but that sounds pretty gross.
That's not.
Although they did say they were going to introduce that on April 1st.
There you go.
So that might have something to do with it.
There you go. Yeah, I like you, John. You got it.
My favorite April Fool's Day joke was as a baseball. There's a furniture retailer in Chicago called Walter E. Smith. You dream it, we build it. That's their motto. And they announced that they were buying the naming rights to Wrigley Field. It was going to be known as Walter E. Smith Field. And the Cubs gave them the go. They did a big press conference at the end of the day saying April Fools, and they thanked the Cubs for allowing them to do that. And I thought that was clever marketing. So
that's good.
Yeah. But I was thinking of some good April Fool, but you can't. FCC's got some pretty tight guidelines on.
I can imagine.
So because I was going to do Waukesha's got a UFO history, and I was going to do a whole like Orson Welles thing. This was last year, and we have a guy named Josh Hughes in town, works at Carroll, and he is he gives the ghost tours. He owns the franchise here.
Oh.
But part of that tour is there's a UFO aspect to it too. So
interesting.
It's related to the Nike missile base at Hillcrest Park. That's part of it. So, but
interesting.
Yeah,
I'd like to hear some stories.
We're gonna organize a get together for we'll try to maybe include you guys.
That'd be cool.
He does like tours of 10 or 20, and usually there's fun beverages involved. So.
Nice. I'm always up for a good documentary about UFOs.
Here you go.
Debate.
So, yeah. Now, I took a picture of the two of you last year, and Coach Stillman brought a bat that John's reintroduced as a tradition that the winning team got this. It's a very long bat too, and Don's proudly holding it. But what I thought wasn't fair because you guys split, but Don won the second game. North won the second game, so he gets to keep it for most of the year. And like, could we do it if you guys split again? Could we do a third game rubber match, say at like Banting Park or somewhere, non-sanctioned?
Wiffle ball or
baseball, hard ball or kickball. But
I like the non-baseball aspect of it.
I
like
too.
the wiffle or kickball or even like Olympics where you have to do a little bit of everything. And
skill competitions.
I wouldn't want to burn out my pitchers more than I already do.
To see who gets the bat for the rest of the year in the event of a split. I think that would be a lot of fun.
No, that was the
call.
deal.
So.
That's the deal. They get to keep it.
And hopefully, right now it's in our trophy case at Waukesha North.
Nice.
For those that have never seen it, it is a huge baseball bat.
That's gigantic.
Whoever did the artistic stuff on it looks really cool. Half red, half purple. Looks great. But hopefully right now it's going to be collecting dust in our trophy case for quite some time. That's the plan anyway. I'd like to, next time I touch it, I want to have a coating of dust on it.
Sounds great. I think that's a great idea. So much more to talk about here with North coach Don Radomski and black shirt coach John Stillman. And don't forget, registration deadlines are fast approaching for youth baseball, softball, and kickball. April 5th are those dates, April 19th for youth baseball. Stick around for more on This Week in Waukesha.
The Shaw, WAU.
Hey, you're listening to This Week in Waukesha on WAUK, 540 AM, 101.1 FM. And if you're listening to this on the radio, be sure to download the Civic Media app so you can take This Week in Waukesha on all your favorite WAUK and Civic Media programming on the road. I know Coach Don Radomski of the North Stars and Coach John Stillman of the Black Shirts, they've got the Civic Media app downloaded so they can catch local news in between innings and the like, as well as catch we now have a crop report, a farm report every day. It's a lot of fun. So great tradition. The song Sister Sledge, We Are Family. Can either of you tell me the baseball reference to that?
Probably the Pirates.
79 Pirates. Yep. Great call. World Series champions.
Yeah. Willie Parker.
Dave Parker, Willie
Dave
Stargell.
Parker, Willie Stargell. Yeah.
Remember the sidearm relief pitcher?
I don't know who they had.
Kent Tekulve.
Tekulve, that's right, yeah. They had the worst hats in baseball ever.
Oh, those old school, yeah.
The painters caps.
Yeah.
The pillbox hats. Yeah. And the stars, if you got, it was like helmet stickers where Stargell gave out the stars.
That's right.
And he sewed them on their hat.
Nice.
Phil Garner at second, Tim Foley at short.
Madlock.
Madlock was third. Center fielder
Omar
Moreno. And I forget who the right fielder was.
What year was that?
John Milner.
79.
79.
We are family.
I was 8.
John Milner was in right. Yep. So and great, good pitching staff.
Ed Ott.
Ed Ott was the catcher. Yep. So yeah.
That's in my wheelhouse, Don. I can.
That we are family.
Or any baseball trivia like that.
Yeah. Oh, good. I may have some more for you.
He will win.
There we go. Hey, speaking of family, join us in celebrating the grand reopening of the Lowell tennis courts. Courts have been completely reconstructed, excuse me. I like coming up with these new words. And then the presentation on Thursday, April 11th, 3:15 to 3:30. There will be a picnic at 3:30 with free hot dogs, no hot dog flavored water, chips and water while supplies last. 3:50 p.m. there will be a team introduction, and 4 p.m. a featured tennis matches between Waukesha North and Waukesha South. So that'll be something to celebrate. And speaking of baseball trivia, and I forgot to ask my guest on the first hour from the band program, but March is National Reading Month. And I don't know, what are you guys reading lately, or what are your favorite baseball books that you may have read?
I say the only book that I've read in probably the last 10 years related to baseball is I don't even remember the title of it. It was the whole Bonds steroid.
Okay.
Juice, I think. Is that was
Sure.
the one? Or was
Is
that
that it?
Seikos?
Yeah.
Or
Okay.
yeah.
Sure.
So that was pretty interesting. I wanted to read all about the conspiracy behind the steroids in the game.
Yeah.
Good stuff. All the guys that were named and just how that whole thing went down.
I was living in Chicago, and because that big year was 98 when Sosa McGuire had that big year. And nobody was saying it, but I was certainly thinking, because I remember Sosa when he was a little scat cat when he played for the Sox. It wasn't that big.
He was a twig.
And then, and then he just became huge. And I get it.
Mhm.
Like, people metabolize. Like, when I was in my late 20s, I gained like 20 pounds and went from being this, sopping wet to now being maybe a little on the portly side now. But no, that's just, both of those. Because I remember McGuire not being that big either.
Nope.
And, nobody was saying anything. And I think because baseball had suffered so much from that strike in 94.
If you look back on the Bash brothers with Canseco and McGuire back in the A's days, right? Those guys were big compared to most guys, but nothing the way they were, 5-6 years later.
Yeah.
Well, the thing that kills me about Bonds is that he was an MVP before all of the steroid talk came up, and in his former body self, or
that makes sense. Already had a great career, and I think these guys did it later on to try to extend their careers. So yeah, very tragic. But how about you, John? What have you been reading?
I read a book probably 2 or 3 months ago about the Big Red Machine.
That was my team as a kid.
It was a book given to me by a colleague at the school where I teach, and we're both big baseball guys. And I read it in 2 days.
Okay.
Neglected a lot of my other duties, but
I'd love to read that. That was my team as a kid.
I can't remember exactly. It might have been called the Big Red Machine, but it was a pretty much a week by week, series by series account
of those Reds teams
of that year of 75.
Yeah. Oh, and they beat the Red Sox in yep.
It was interesting.
I was watching that clip from Good Will Hunting when Robin Williams tells Matt Damon that he had tickets for that Game 6 when Pudge hit the foul pole to win the game in extra innings, and which I saw live as a little kid, and that was my really first touch with baseball. But also, when you grow up in a town that didn't have a home major league team, you kind of picked who was always on the national game of the week. And so I was born in 67. My brother before me, born in 65, he was an A's fan.
Sure.
Brother before him was an Orioles fan. And then for me, it was the Reds. That was the Big Red Machine.
Yeah, you got the one Saturday afternoon game a week, or maybe even as we got into the 70s, the Monday night game. And
so.
I was in the 80s. I was a big Mets guy. The Gary Carter. The Gooden. Yeah. Strawberry.
My brother's a sports medicine doctor, and he got to meet Gary Carter. Said he was the nicest guy.
I loved Gary Carter.
Yeah. Heck of a player.
Not proud of it, but I did have a poster of him in my room.
Is that right?
Growing up. Yeah.
Sure. Hey, why not? Probably one of the greatest catchers, like pound for pound. Greatest hitting catchers, one of them.
Yeah.
Along with Johnny Bench. And Ted Simmons doesn't get a lot of, because he was in that same era as Bench and Thurman Munson and Fisk. And so, but I always talk about back then, catcher was a coveted position. People fought for that position. They did not want to give up. Again, even like guys like Bench, they'd maybe play the whole season. And now it's like I remember in the last 20 years, you got to get guys from the outfield that want to make the team to catch. I think players just see what it does to your knees and everything else.
Oh, it's an investment. It's
Yeah.
a business decision
Yep.
in a lot of cases. And you're right. And that, that book that I read talked about how Bench was just beat up, but kept playing because
was
they
tough.
kept winning. And, nowadays, if you play 162 games and you catch 120, 130,
Right.
that's a rarity.
Yeah. Well, Bench, like Clemente, it was either like a serious injury or an ailment. Like, did he like lose a lung or something like that? Like he
Had it was a lung cancer scare.
yeah.
And they thought it was it.
Right.
Um,
And then,
but yeah,
the debilitating effects, though, even though he was a mere shell of his former self, he was still one of the best players.
oh yeah,
You just didn't know it. And it was like same thing about Clemente. He was in an awful car accident in his prime.
yep. His neck
And
was
Maybe
messed
lost his
up.
second, but he was still one of the greatest players in the game.
Clemente was my
So-
favorite. I never saw him play live, but he
Yeah, me
still
too.
is my favorite player to watch on
Yeah.
highlights.
No doubt, obviously. So, do we have time for a quick call from Triple G? Greg, you there?
Oh.
Do we have him?
Can you hear me?
I can hear you now, Greg.
Can
Good
you
morning.
hear
How
me?
are you? What questions
Oh,
do you have
good
for Coach
morning.
Radomski and Coach Stillman?
Well, I was just going to say go North Stars, first of
That's
all.
right. Yeah, Greg's a
And
North
as
graduate.
proud 1996 graduate. So,
That a boy.
and I was going to just talk about my favorite baseball book, just real quick, The Voices of Baseball
Nice.
with
I've
Bob
heard-
Uecker. Bob Uecker said that he would always, his mentor told him to broadcast games like he would broadcast them to an audience who's totally blind. And I, of course, am also totally blind. So
Yep.
I really appreciate that and
good.
really appreciate Euchre.
Hey, Greg, can you hang on the
for-
phone for a second? We'll be back to
Sure.
continue the conversation here on This Week in Waukesha with coaches Radomski and Stillman and North grad and Carroll employee and alumnus Greg Triple G Wansnyder. You're listening to This Week in Waukesha. For those of you who aren't familiar with, that's the winning home run scene in the movie The Natural from 1984. One of my favorite baseball movies, and obviously a very personal attachment because it was filmed in my hometown of Buffalo, New York. That stadium where that scene takes place, all the baseball games, they take place in War Memorial Stadium, where the Buffalo Bills used to play, and the minor league Buffalo Bisons. And that's just a great movie. And we still have Triple G. Are you still there? Greg? Hang on, we're going to tune Greg in here. He's been very patient.
Okay, I'm
So-
still here.
Tell us
Yeah.
about that book that you recommended again, that Euchre was involved in.
Well, it's actually an audiobook. It's called Voices of Baseball. It's
Nice.
Bob Uecker. Pat Hughes actually tells the story. Pat Hughes, of
Like
course,
Pat Hughes,
was
yep.
a longtime broadcast partner of Bob Uecker. And Uecker broadcasts the book like he's broadcasting to an audience,
Neat.
or broadcasts baseball games like he's broadcasting to an audience who is totally blind and was advised to do so by a mentor of his. And I just think that's pretty fascinating. And when I listen to Bob Uecker broadcast the games, I can sense now, he really does. he really does get it. He broadcasts games like he'll even say things like, the classic just a bit outside, just to kind of give a sense of what's really happening on the field. And, I've played beat baseball before as a blind person, but I've never been on an actual baseball field. And it would be cool just to be able to hit the ball,
Nothing like it, man.
On a baseball field someday.
Yeah.
We got to get him doing some tee work.
Yeah. So great. Coach Radomski wants to meet you, especially as a North alumnus. So we'll make sure we make that connection.
We got to make that happen.
We'll have to get you to come out for a game, so.
Yeah. And Don, I'm really hoping that you can make it out on another related topic. I texted in the best thing ever.
Yes.
I'm really hoping you can make it this Wednesday.
I'm a good fan of food, so and good gourmet food. So yeah, we'll have to give that a whirl.
I'm not a skinny guy, so you can if you saw me, you would know that I'm a bigger portly guy.
I may
bring our language.
I may bring a couple baseball coaches out with me if there's room there.
Yeah.
So great. Well, Greg, I'm really grateful for the call and for all that you do for our community and our university here at Carroll. And I want to add to what Greg was saying too. Is my favorite medium for baseball is radio. Even if I was telling someone the other day, if someone had seats right behind the Brewers dugout, I think I would still prefer to listen. I love baseball on the radio, and my dad was a Tigers fan because the Tigers farm team used to be in Buffalo. In fact, the old stadium was called Offerman Field, and he saw White Sox lefty Billy Pierce, who started with the Tigers. He saw him pitch at Offerman Field on Victory in Europe Day. And it was really neat because they made the announcement and he said the whole place just, went crazy, erupted, it was confetti everywhere. And it was a really neat scene. And so another great baseball moment. But I really do enjoy, baseball, like, especially you'll get the grill going or do some yard work and you catch it on the radio. And anyway, I mentioned my dad because Ernie Harwell was the voice of the Tigers for many years. And I use a lot of Ernie's euphemisms when I'll broadcast my daughter's softball games on like Game Changer or Facebook live stream. And when someone strikes out looking, I do Ernie's stood there like the house on the side of the road. And
I'm sure the other team loves that.
Well, that was
it. Right behind home plate. I'm sure they love that.
I try not to say it loud enough. But I guess I was like in a tournament in Kenosha. My wife yells at me because I made some girl cry, and that wasn't the intent. But it is a sin to look at a close pitch on two strikes. It still drives me crazy. So, but that's just me. But
no, it's not just you.
No,
yeah, all right,
it is not just you.
Yep. So
we preach that big time. Expand that zone and get the bat on the ball with two strikes.
Make the defense make a play.
I had a big argument with Mario Jimenez, father of pitcher and third base Ben Jimenez of South, because I say guard the dish on two strikes, and he's like, no, he's like, they got to be selective about pitches. I'm like, well. They got nothing to select if they get called on something. And I said, it's just like what you said from third base. I heard you yelling because someone knocked a pitch away. And he said, good, throw those away. Throw the ones you don't like away. And that's why you put a bat on it with two strikes and it's close.
Well, it's funny you mentioned that because when I said that, that was Logan.
Yeah.
And he did it twice.
And then he jacked one.
And then he hit one right up the middle. And Kias, Pius coach, was standing, 10 feet away from me. He goes, that's a lost art. He goes, people don't realize how important to foul. He goes, oh my gosh, how fouling away a pitch, how novel.
Yeah.
It is. It's something that is, with the analytics and the saver metrics, they think strikeouts are okay.
Oh, yeah. So 2 points on that. One is finishing this story, this anecdote with Mario, is the next time Ben was up, literally the next time, there was a pitch in the outside corner, 2 strikes, and he did a check swing. And it sailed into right field and went on the left side of the right field line, and it was a base hit. And it goes an RBI. And I said, and I looked at Mario. I said, "This is why you guard the dish." Because sometimes even if you're not, and again, I don't think he was meaning to hit it. He just wanted to knock it away.
Well, we preached that,
and he that traveled.
We preach that if you strike out, that means that's one less out of the 21 that we get. That they don't have to make a play, and making a play, whether it's catching a fly ball or picking up a ground ball, is hard.
Yeah. But the other thing is, my second point is there was a a journeyman major leaguer, maybe a lifetime average of like 213 or 140, whatever. A guy named Gary Reedus. And no one would ever hear of him, but he his career lasted like well over 10 years. And teams would pick him up because he was considered the toughest out in baseball because he knew how to foul a ball away in 2 strikes. And that's an art. That's a value because if you're facing a tough pitcher, he's got to waste an extra 5 or 10 pitches a game that he could be saving for, better hitters.
Absolutely. And in high school, pitch count is huge. So anytime you can go deep in count and, get that guy's pitch count running up, you want to try to get to the bullpen.
Sure.
And we track quality at bats. We track even if you make an out with seeing 6 or more pitches, that's a quality at bat.
Yeah, absolutely. So, but that's talking about National Reading Month. The books, I've read so many great books about baseball, but a couple that come to mind are I Never Had It Made by Jackie Robinson, great baseball book. Boys of Summer, also about that Dodgers team, Roger Kahn. My favorite part's in the beginning. There's this. It takes place at a bar in Pennsylvania, some small, like mining town or steel town, and there's a, kind of a heavy-set guy sitting at the bar, and he used to tell everyone he played third base for the old Brooklyn Dodgers, and no one believed him. They said, "Yeah, this guy's full of it," And the author Roger Kahn, like in the next chapter, he shows up in this. I'm looking for what's his name. I hear he hangs out here. Yeah, he's not here. Why? It was while I'm writing a book about the old Brooklyn Dodgers, and that was the guy was telling the truth.
Guy.
Yeah. So. But a couple other books. One was Shoeless Joe, what the movie Field of Dreams is based on that. And great book and easy read, 'cause I'm a slow reader. But the difference between the book and the movie was the James Earl Jones character in the book was J.D. Salinger, author of Catcher in the Rye. And there is a baseball reference to that book. And supposedly Salinger did an article or an interview for Time or Life magazine, and he talks about the 2 greatest tragedies in his life. One is when the Giants left the Polo Grounds to move to San Francisco. The second, well, actually, no, that was the second one. The first one was when he reached a time in his age when he knew he wasn't good enough to play pro baseball because he loved baseball like that much. And so instead of James Earl Jones going to Ebbets Field to see Jackie Robinson and the Brooklyn Dodgers, it's J.D. Salinger going through the corn to go back to the Polo Grounds to see like Willie Mays and some of the other, Bobby Thompson. And so I just love that. But the other book I didn't finish, but saw the movie, but I did get a lot of great nuggets from the book, was Moneyball.
Sure.
And about that Bill James book and just how baseball has been measured over the years is, really kind of a laugh. I mean, a ball gets hit under a player's legs, and if he doesn't touch it, that's a base hit. So like that one, that Texas leaguer the other night, center fielder's coming for the ball, and even though it's closer to right field, it's his call.
Correct.
And the right fielder stands back, and then the center fielder, that's a hit because neither guy touched it. And
very subjective.
Millions of dollars are invested based on that data.
Yeah.
And so that's why I thought that was a great, and the whole idea of just getting on base. So, and I just tell when my kids slump, they do manage to get bases on ball. They manage to get on that base, and that's the most important thing.
Yeah, I mean in high school ball too, putting the ball in play, just putting the ball in play, because like John was saying, any ball that is in play, especially on the carpet, if you can put it on the carpet, you have a chance to get on, and you're moving runners. That's the other thing too. You're moving runners.
Yeah,
a ground ball to the right side with anybody on base is huge.
Sure. Yeah.
In high school ball, you only have 7 innings. You don't have time to wait.
Right.
I mean, you don't have 9 innings. You have 7, and you have to make things happen a little bit quicker and a little bit sooner.
Another reason why you can't be looking at any close pitches on 2 strikes.
True.
So, yeah, very true. But I noticed the other night too, there weren't a lot of walks by either team, which I guess is a credit to the pitching.
I think we walked one of their players. Our inning that we scored, we had 2 right away, and those 2 guys scored.
Yeah.
And to your point, that's how you get guys moving.
Well, and that's what ultimately cost Pius. That guy gave up 2 walks right away.
With 2 outs.
With 2 outs.
Yes.
First 2 guys out, and then our 9 hitter and leadoff hitter walked, and then we scored 3.
Yeah, and it wasn't the best of nights to be pitching. A little chilly.
Yeah.
A little chilly. So those guys.
It really wasn't the best of night to be doing much of anything.
Baseball. Yeah. But I thought both sides though, Pius and South had. I thought the pitchers did a nice job, especially in that weather.
Oh yeah, no doubt. So now your first game, is it Tuesday, Don?
Correct.
For North?
Tuesday we play New Berlin West.
Okay, at West or
At Frame.
at Frame.
Yep.
Okay, so
and
they're
then
here at home.
yep. and
7:30, right?
7:30, but the weather right now isn't on our side. There's talking rain, possible snow, so we'll see how that shakes out. I know Frame's turf, but it's another story when you're playing through a snowstorm. Ask John about that. I think that was
I've seen some games in the snow there at Frame.
yeah,
So-
right. Some wind and snow, and so we'll see how that goes out. And then Saturday's looking better for us. That's at Nicolay, which is a beautiful park. That's the Maslowski Park, MSOE. So we're we're excited. They're hosting all three of our levels on Saturday, so we're looking for. It's supposed to be 55 and sunny, so that hopefully we get that one in.
Okay, sounds good. Hey, real quick, I wanted to finish up the Carroll Minute from the first hour and wanted to shout out Caitlin Brandel, who was named CCIW Women's Tennis Student Athlete of the Week. Congratulations to her. She's a native of Neshota, and she picked up a critical singles victory last Saturday that ensured the Pioneers a 5-4 win over Wartburg. So Brandel was a straight sets winner from, let me just finish this here, from the 5th spot in the lineup, defeating the Knights' Lily Schreckengast 7-6, 7-3. So congrats to her. And with Abby in training, too, we're going to be leaning on her a lot for help with the Carroll Minute. I'm sure she has a lot of great nuggets of what's going on there over at the university. So, but with coaches Radomski and Stillman, how are things like, because you're still in the Classic 8, right? I know there's been talk about moving to another conference. Who's looking good in the Classic 8?
Well, Arrowhead, Kettle Moraine, Oconomowoc, Muskego. I think all 4 of those are ranked, if I'm not mistaken, in the top 15 or 20 in the state.
Wow.
I stopped looking at rankings. I know they're going to be good every year.
Sure.
Kettle Moraine lost 1 senior, and they were really good last year. Arrowhead has 2 guys starting from last year's team as freshmen. They're starting on SEC teams.
Wow.
And they just reload. They don't rebuild.
Right.
They
Sure,
reload.
sure. We're going to continue this conversation about the upcoming season with John Stillman, head coach of the Black Shirts, and Don Radomski, head coach of the North Stars, here in This Week in Waukesha on WAUK. Hey, you're listening to This Week in Waukesha. And Coach Don Radomski is getting some coffee. But while we wait for him, Coach John Stillman of Waukesha South, can you tell us what that song's from?
This Week in Baseball.
Nice, with Mel Allen. We might have to play it again for Coach Radomski. And did you mind just replaying a few?
He heard my answer though.
Oh,
So
well, he may not have.
No, I didn't.
Here we go. Did you recognize this song? Cool. Okay, you can cut it. Thanks, Anya.
I could hum it for you, but I can't tell you where it's coming from though.
It was the title song to This Week in Baseball with Mel Allen.
Yeah, Mel Allen. That's right.
But now we got This Week in
And we used to
Waukesha. I
have
could probably bastardize
Ozzie
that
Smith
song.
was on the usually on there too.
Yeah.
Ozzie was on there a lot.
Ozzie Smith. And showing my age here, but when I would watch that in the late 70s, early 80s, they would show you people on the rooftop of Wrigley Field before that became a thing, when they were just like, if you rented an apartment there, you could go up on the roof and watch the Cubs for free. And Mel Allen would always show clips from that, like on nice summer days. And then someone got the idea to commercialize it.
And
I
to
bet-
block
I-
the,
I
block
bet
the
if they
views and yeah.
I bet if they brought that back,
This Week in Baseball?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I think kids would love that.
Yeah. Oh, it's great because the highlights of everything that happened. And
Not only the highlights, but then you get the special
music
guests too, and
yeah.
they always had that feature of how
Tips
to
for
feel the
kids.
ground
Yeah.
ball or
Yeah. Yeah.
I loved it.
Speaking
yeah.
of Johnny Bench, yeah. He
The
was
baseball
always on
bunch. Is that the
baseball bunch.
That's
yeah.
right.
With
That
the
is
generic
it.
uniforms.
God, how old are we?
there. Yeah. Yeah.
That was
So-
good stuff.
That sure was. Hey, so I wanted to make a special community announcement here bear with me a moment, and that is on, I believe it's April 12th. We've got the, let's see here. Well, first, Saturday, April 6th, join us for a family adventure based on the book, How to Be a Bigger Bunny. Every family will get a copy of the book as they participate in rock climbing, pirate boat race with a take-home boat, bunny ear decorating, designing a superhero cape, and more fun. The event's a fundraiser for the Waukesha Parks, Rec, and Forestry Financial Assistance Fund, so great cause there. But then there's another very important community event. Oh, and don't forget, Monday's the last day you can sign up for Waukesha Unlocked if you're a local business or own a building here with a lot of great history behind it. That's really one of the great events in our community that now takes place every other year. And City of Waukesha is hiring a lot of great opportunities: administrative assistant, arborist, building attendant, clean water plant operations operator, dispatch engineer, equipment operator, and firefighter paramedic, which leads to my next point. And Don's the proud father of a Village of Waukesha firefighter, son Jonah, my daughter's boyfriend of many years. So I had to throw that in there. But
we are very proud of Jonah. He's a go-getter.
Great guy, yeah. And we're really grateful that he's in our lives too. And speaking of firefighters, the Boots and Badges basketball game between the Waukesha Police Fire and the New Berlin Brookfield Police Fire take place April 12th, Friday night, the 12th, 7 p.m. at Waukesha South High School. Admissions $5. Proceeds benefit the Parade Memorial Fund and the Waukesha Food Pantry. And then the big announcement is outgoing Fire Chief Steve Howard is my guest on April 20th, along with Assistant Chief Joe Hoffman. Chief Howard, as many of you know, announced back in January his retirement after 36 years of faithful service to the city. And Steve's also a graduate of Waukesha North High School, so I know that Don's very pleased to hear that, and we'll be listening on that day.
Yeah, bleeding purple. I love it.
So, yep. So, yeah, we'll have to get him to show up at a North game, maybe do a little honorarium for him. So, but we were talking before about the Classic 8, and you got at least 4 or 5 top 20 teams.
Mm-hmm.
It's always a tough conference. And how's West supposed to be this year?
With Chad's teams, he'll make do with whatever he has. I'm honestly, I'm sure he's got some guys coming back, but he has such a program and a culture that they're never going to be down. They're never going to be out of it. They're always going to compete.
He had a couple big injuries last year that I know set them back a little bit, but Coach Montez, again, like John had said, I mean, those guys are always very well coached, and he squeezes everything he can get out of those guys. They'll be tough.
Coach Stillman, you have 2 of his nephews in your program. Any kind of special intel you can get there? And,
working on it.
Brother Lee is the coach of our varsity basketball program.
Yeah. Braden and Alex are guys on our team, and they're sophomores. So yeah, I'll see what but Chad doesn't make much secrets about it. You know what you're going to get.
Yeah.
Like Don said, they're going to be extremely well coached. They're going to pick up ground balls, and they're going to bunt, and they're going to take advantage of your mistakes.
Yep. Hey, before I forget, stick around because James Santel is next. He graced us with some delicious pastries, eclairs, I believe. But his show is now called Amicus, a law review. And if I were king, I would call the show Atticus because if anyone can resemble Gregory Peck in the courtroom, it's our good friend James Santel. But stick around. Great info on the developing law, and that goes from 9 to 11. But here in our final minutes with my good friends, real quick, there was talk about switching all the North and South teams into, I know football's going to Parkland, but the other programs will go into Woodland. Have you heard any latest developments on that? And certainly, do you?
I don't necessarily know the latest, but yeah, football will be moving conferences next year.
Yeah, we know that. Yeah,
and after that, we I don't know if the final papers have gone through yet, but it's leaning towards us, all the sports making the move the final year.
Yeah, fall of 25 is the plan to go to the Woodland. Yep. And at least in our last coaches meeting at South, it's on the table. It's been kind of brought back to have some more discussions about it, but it still looks like a pretty clear bet.
Yeah, I think it's got to help with our program in terms of attracting more talent to
the
teams.
We'd be playing like
competitive.
teams that look like us.
Sure.
Population wise and just the makeup of our population.
Sure. So
It's a tough schools though. I mean, you got the New Berlin schools in there and Whitnall's. And
they're competitive too.
They're going to be good.
Yep. So final comments, Coach Radomski of North.
I just want to say thanks for having me on the show. We're really looking forward for the season, and we'll be battling South this year towards the end of the year. So
sounds great.
Yeah.
Coach Stillman.
Likewise, thank you for having us on and advertising our programs. And if you get a chance to see one of either North or South frame, one of those nights is usually taken by us. One of the two. Some pretty good baseball to be had in this city.
Sounds great. Waukesha North Coach Don Radomski, South Coach John Stillman. It's baseball season. Get ready. Thanks for joining us. Have a wonderful Easter weekend for those of you who observe. And remember, safety is everyone's responsibility. And see ya!